Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome to March Show and Tell. I'm gonna let everyone get logged on here. Thanks for joining us today. If this is your first time joining us, this is a monthly webinar we do the first Wednesday of every month here at FS. We're joined by different teams each month, and it's just a chance for us to share things with you that are currently inspiring us that we love, and we hope will also inspire you as well. Just a reminder, we will follow up with you later this week with a doc of all the links that are shared today, so don't feel the need to write everything down as we go. Also, we will share with you a recording of today's webinar. If you missed any previous month's webinars that you'd like to catch up on, you can do so by going to our YouTube channel, or if you are a client of FS, you can also find them under the webcast portion of our homepage. So with that, just a few housekeeping things. As always, we love to hear from you during the webinar. I can see everyone letting us know right now where they're from. We have LA, we have Colombia, Mexico, DC, Canada. So please do take advantage of the chat box. And if you have any questions or you want us to repeat anything or just tell us what you love as we go through, please use the chat box. Just be sure to use the pull down and choose everyone so both the panelists and attendees can see your comment or your question. I'm going to turn it over to Ellie, just from our marketing team, to go over a few upcoming events that we would love to invite you to. Good morning, Ellie.
Hello. Hi, Michael. Hi, everyone. So with runway season in full swing, we are hosting two insightful webinars. The first for Winter 25-26 Men's Fashion Week Insights takes place tomorrow and will be led by our wonderful show and tell host and VP of Menswear, Michael. The second for Winter 25-26 Women's Fashion Week Insights is happening on the 19th of March, hosted by our women's team, who are also joining us in today's show and tell. So in both sessions, we'll also hear valuable insights from our youth accessories and pattern and graphics teams. So be sure to tune in. To register, visit fashionsnoops.com/events or simply click the resource button in your Zoom toolbar to sign up directly. Now, moving to the next slide. At the end of the month, we are thrilled to kick off Color Week. This dedicated week explores the latest color trends and seasonal intelligence, featuring live webinars and exclusive content for FS members. The first webinar in the series for Winter 26-27 Color Shifts and Anchor Colors takes place on the 25th of March and offers an in-depth look at the foundational colors of the season. But if you're not a client and still want to participate, we've got you covered. On the 27th of March, we are hosting a webinar open to everyone, focusing on the essential colors for SS27. Again, to register or learn more, visit fashionsnoops.com/events or click the resource button in your Zoom toolbar. But that's all from me. Back to you, Michael, to kick off the March show and tell.
Great, thank you. Color Week is always one of our most popular weeks of webinars each season, so we're really excited. Please join us. And yes, please join me tomorrow for the Men's Runway webinar that will be presenting all of the trends from Fall Winter 25-26. So give me just a second. I'm going to pop over to our links today. Today we are joined by our visionary, women's, intimate, and swim teams. So we have a lot of really good links to go through. We're going to let Hallie from Visionary open it up today. Hey, Hallie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hallie. I'm our director of Visionary. And before you click on the links, Michael, I'll just kind of preface. So the first two links that I have today are about recent movies that I've seen or either can't stop thinking about. I personally love film so much as a vehicle for storytelling. And of course, obviously, because of the visual language, we are visual people, but maybe even more so, I'm really obsessed with the creative process that goes into making a film because I do truly believe that some of the best films are the ultimate proof of the power of collaboration. So I seek out anything that I can about the process of making my favorite films. So I love deep diving into how directors work with the screenwriters, how actors work with the costume departments, cinematographers work with the production design, and so on. Because as a creative, I just find so much value in the insights from other creatives and how they work, because even though we might work in different mediums, there's always something to learn, and the process itself is always just so inspiring to me and gives me so much to think about. And of course, trying to apply it here to our creative process at FS. So the two films that I want to talk about today first, I've been really inspired by and even touched on it briefly in our internal visionary pitch day meeting, but I was noticing this common theme in the ways that these respective stories are told, and that has a lot to do with perspective or point of view, and how it sort of creates this new way of being immersed in a story in a completely visceral way. So as we know, it's not uncommon for in literature to employ the first person point of view, and it's more writing from the inside out. But in film, a lot of the storytelling is told from the outside. So I love seeing how that's being explored and translated into cinema to tell those types of stories that we're used to reading in a similar way, and really forcing the film audience to participate in that subjectivity. So the first film I want to talk about is Nickel Boys. I feel like I can't shut up about this film. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Definitely my personal favorite film of last year. It's based on the novel by Colson Whitehead, and it's directed by Ramel Ross. I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but what's really groundbreaking is that it's filmed entirely from the first person point of view. So the adaptation is based on stories about these real boys and real lives. So the perspective shift is very intentional. It's important as a way for the film to give them life and agency and to honor them. So we can watch the trailer and I'll speak a little bit more about that.
Long time, long time, long time.
Whoa! That's it, Em. You're doing great.
What happened to that one kid I used to hang with all the time?
You don't remember?
Remember what?
You really don't remember.
I don't know what more you want me to remember.
What are you gonna do? It's now or never.
Hello.
So for those who haven't seen it, I don't want to give too much about the plot away, but what I want to talk about today is after seeing this film, I was so drawn to such a unique style that I looked up the cinematographer. His name is Jomo Frey, and he's actually the cinematographer for another film that I loved and shared in Show and Tell a while back, called All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt, so another recommendation. But really just diving into his creative process, I found his approach so inspiring that it basically reinvigorated me in my own approach. So I've added several links to some really great pieces that I read with the cinematographer, but if you want to click, Michael, on the first one, the deep dive with the director, this is a conversation between Frey as a cinematographer and the director, Ramel Ross. So you can just scroll and I can kind of talk a little bit about some of the pull quotes that I found across all the different articles. But some of the questions that these two asked when they were filming together was, what would the world look like if every image that had ever been taken was by a person, as if they were taking an image of their brother, their mother, their sister, or their friend? So there's obviously a way in which you take an image of your mother that's unlike any other image that anyone else in the world will take of your mother, because there's a way in which you see that person that's a totally different way than anyone else. So because of this choice to film from the perspective of the character Elwood, from his childhood to adolescence, and then eventually it does toggle between another character, Turner, it really posed this challenge for Jomo Frey as a cinematographer who essentially had to step in as the characters and as a performer himself when shooting the film, which I think is so fascinating to me. So they also, again, speak about some of the specific shots that's what this article is. And so like when we're looking, if you go back up to that one, Michael, sorry, if you're looking, this is from a character or from a scene where the character is really young. So the world around him feels so big. You have to look up. Your range of motion is also a little bit more limited. And then also in more emotional or confrontational scenes where if you're as that character, you're probably not looking directly at them as you would. You're kind of looking down or off to the side. So the camera is looking down or off to the side, but it's still also reacting as a real human in the world. So I just love that the camera and the person operating it as a cinematographer is placed in that position. So yeah, this is like the 2D dive into several scenes in this movie. I find it all so fascinating and so beautiful. And then I'll just kind of end with some parting words of wisdom from Frey about his creative philosophy that really resonated with me. He states that there are so many ways that language can get in the way between actually communicating. And I don't think the images are perfect, but I think images can sometimes just get to a more honest place. And then he says, the more I push myself to be a more compassionate human in the world, the better the image is. I think it's such a beautiful sentiment for all storytelling, and I think it's really reflected in this film. So that's the first
so
one.
good.
I
Hallie,
highly
before we
recommend it.
go, Hallie, before we go to the next link, can I just ask you, since you are our resident movie expert, any films from the Oscars the other night that you definitely think that we should check out, like that were some of your
I
favorites?
mean, Nickel Boys was nominated for Best
Yeah.
Film, and if I was a voter, I would have been voting it for everything. That was one I really loved. I loved the production design in The Brutalist. I thought it was beautiful. I
Yeah.
did love Anora. I was actually happy with that winning Best Picture. Sing Sing was another one. It wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but I think it's a really beautiful and moving film. I have so many
Sing
recommendations,
Sing is
but
great. I saw that too, and I love the true story that it's based on. It's quite amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
I'm really sad that The Brutalist didn't win production design because
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
it.
So the next one, before you click on the next trailer, I'll tee this one up. So this is another film. It came out earlier this year. It's directed by the icon Steven Soderbergh. He's known for all of the Ocean's films and also Magic Mike. But I think that his range is crazy, especially evidenced by this film. So we can watch the trailer for Presence, and I'll speak about it.
What's it like?
What's what like?
I never had anybody die.
Scary. And it goes on.
What do you mean?
Like the world cracks apart. And you fall into this hole. And the sides are mud, and you can't get out. And you wonder where they are. And you wonder what it would be like if you were there too.
So as you can see, this is being presented as a horror film, basically a ghost story, but it's actually from the perspective of the ghost. But the catch is, as the audience in this Presence point of view, we don't know who or what or why we are or why we're existing or what we're trying to say. So I think that lends to the mystery of the film as it unfolds. And while it does kind of seem terrifying, I think the film itself is actually so much more profound and complex than that. I think it's very moving. It's one that I haven't stopped thinking about since I saw it. But what I really love, again, is just this experimental type of filmmaking is one, it's again so inspiring and just very audacious to me, but also for this particular story, it's extremely effective. So it's not just perspective and point of view for the sake of it, but it's actually integral to the process of storytelling, which again, just all of this makes me question how we tell stories in our reports here at FS, but that one I thought was really beautiful. And also kind of as a side tangent, I feel like both of these movies, they really tap into actually being from like the perspective and really telling a story from a literal point of view. And it kind of validates one of my biggest social media pet peeves is all these POV videos where people completely misconstrue the definition of POV, but I digress on that. And then we can go to the next one, Orion's Rise. So this is a bit tangentially related, but it's an art piece by Solange, and it's entitled Orion's Rise that was on display at the Met. So this was in an exhibit titled Flight into Egypt, Black Artists in Ancient Egypt. This exhibit examined how Black artists and other cultural figures have engaged with ancient Egypt through visual art, literature, music, scholarship, religion, politics, and performance. So it's this multi-sensory exploration of almost 150 years of artistic and cultural production, including nearly 200 works of art and all these like wide-ranging and different ranges of media. So I love as an exhibit that it allows each piece to reflect the individual artist's different perspective on ancient Egypt, but I wanted to highlight this piece in particular because, well, one, I just think Solange is one of the most brilliant, visionary, multidisciplinary creatives, but I also really love the sculpture. So it highlights a photograph from her 2017 performance of the same name, and it's encased in this pyramid of resin. So I love her sort of like ancient future fusion and how she translated this live performance into a piece in a singular sculpture. But again, you'll see, yeah, especially from this video, that obviously the perspective shifts depending on where you're looking at the piece, and I just think it's really beautiful. And then I have one more link, and this is just a really quick, fun link for any Severance fans here. I know many of us at FS are here, but this is a macro data refinement simulation game. So anyone who's seen the show, it's meant to actually reflect what the characters are working on in the show. And I have to say, it's very tedious, and it's honestly not even really that fun at all, but I really respect that it exists. So I just wanted to share that. They basically have to like actually like highlight the numbers that seem scary, like in the show. But you'll see like when they start moving, it's like the 8 and 5 down there. Yeah, there you go. But very, very fun.
It's so weird. Like I was playing with it last night and I just couldn't stop.
Yeah, so that's me. Thank you, everyone.
I was reading last night that they had originally asked President Obama to be a voice in this new season, and I have not watched this newest season, so I'm a little behind, but
Yeah, it's very good.
yeah, it's really funny. Thanks, Hallie. I always love Hallie's shares for films because I think as someone who works in color all the time, I always appreciate like all the links you share. I always first hone in on like what the color palettes are first and foremost, which is really interesting.
It's also
All right,
interesting because, oh, sorry,
yeah.
just
No,
because
go ahead.
we're going to, a lot of the team member, several of us are going to South by Southwest this upcoming week, I guess. And I'm attending a workshop that's actually supposed to be for, people who color grade on films, but it's basically a workshop of talking about how emotion or color is used to convey emotion in film, but I'm attending that and I'm very excited because I feel like we have a lot of perspective from our work to give to that. So I will report back for what I learn and what I find.
I can't wait. And we'll see you again, I think in May, right? For
Oh,
Milan.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Lots of good trips coming up for you. All right. Thanks, Hallie. That was a visionary team. We're going to go ahead and roll over to our women's and intimates and swims teams. And I think Patricia's going to open us up today. Hey, Patricia.
Hi everyone. I'm Patricia, Director of Women's Wear. No movies from me, but for some reason, I have been seeing a lot of fitness content. So the first 3 links that I brought are somewhat related to that. So this one is Sports Re-Illustrated, and it's a partnership between Dove and the publication Sports Illustrated, where they created a special edition that celebrates young female athletes. So you can scroll down so we can see the first cover. And there's this really interesting yet sad stat that says that 48% of girls will drop out of sports if they're told that they have the wrong body type. So it becomes really important to praise their passion and their commitment. So the first edition features the youngest female athlete ever to appear on a Sports Illustrated cover, and that is 10-year-old Hunter Smoke. And in this initiative, they will also profile 10 other inspiring young athletes who are really changing the conversation around girls and sports. So you can see all of them towards the bottom. And I just thought it was a great way to empower this new generation of young girls who are really passionate about their sports. So yeah, really great way to do that.
This is great. I think back to all the years we've been doing show and tell, and probably out of all the brands and campaigns that we've shared, Dove has probably been the one that we've talked about the most over the years, just because of their campaigns and the
Yeah, for
sentiments
sure.
behind them. Yeah,
Yeah, this is very much on brand for them and their messaging.
for sure.
So speaking of empowerment, this one is another great example of challenging stereotypes when it comes to sports and fitness. And this is Lululemon's new brand ambassador, 78-year-old fitness influencer John McDonald. So we can watch the campaign.
Oh, great. Another annoying fitness influencer walking in like she owns the place. So annoying. Listen to this. When she was 70, her doctor told her, you need to change your whole life. And guess what? She did. She changed her whole life at 70. I mean, who does that? And now she's 78, posting all these videos lifting giant weights. She is such a show-off. Who smiles this much? Nobody is that happy all the time. Oh, she's so annoying. What is it about this lady that bothers me so much? What is it? I guess if she can lift 135 pounds at 78, maybe I can lift my butt from this couch at 36.
Damn right you can.
Maybe I should be more like Joan. Maybe I should be more annoying?
Thanks, hon. I knew you'd come around.
I mean, how cool is this? I
Good for
mean,
Joan.
it's so great to see more representation when it comes to age and different body types. Feels very empowering and inclusive. And I promise this is my last fitness related link, but I came across this brand called Subtle Impacts, and they basically redesign dumbbells and kettlebells to look more like decor. So they call them aesthetic weights. I think it only goes up to 20 pounds, which is not a lot, but it does make me think about how nowadays everything needs to be aesthetically pleasing. So for those of us who appreciate design, I think this is a great idea. Like not everyone wants to have those ugly dumbbells laying around the house. So I just thought it was really clever to redesign such a functional product and how that can appeal to, you know, certain consumers like me.
It's great. They literally look like sculpture.
Yeah.
So what a clever idea. And you can share all the fitness links you want. It's totally fine. Melissa.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa, VP of Women's at FS. I'm kind of obsessed with those weights because one of them I thought looked like a bag. So I feel like that would look great on my coffee table. So the links that I have to share today, at first, it's a lot of retail focus, which I think is great because Michael and I are currently working on the Future of Retail report. So here are a couple interesting things that are happening this week. Of course, it's Paris Fashion Week, so I wanted to draw attention to Merci, which is a concept store in Paris, and they opened their second store. The first one was opened when I lived there in 2009, and it received a lot of buzz. You could kind of scroll through the article. I think there's some more pictures. This particular location is near the Palais Royal in the first arrondissement. It's an old post office space that they reclaimed. They wanted kind of like a loft-like layout. They said that this particular layout that they were looking at aligns with their post-luxury philosophy, which I thought was interesting. So they said it's not about logos or exclusivity, but it's products that resonate with people. So it's a place for discovery driven by curation. There's a mix of everything from like your fashion pieces, home pieces, and beauty. And the way that it's displayed is just kind of like you're going through an apartment. It feels a lot more casual, if you will, than like other high-end concept-y stores. So I think like that's the draw, because the idea is, you know, anybody could really like find or like a new treasure that they're going to take home. They also do have this Parisian spirit, I think, that's embedded in their stores. So it's kind of like this art-driven retail, but it's something accessible to everybody. And, you know, they focus on the experience and the joy over exclusivity or trends. Although I will say that I saw recently they did a collaboration with Erewhon, the LA department store, and I was like, that's so buzzy. It's in a tasteful way they did it. So that was...
I love that you shared this. It's by far one of my favorite stores in Paris, the original one. And I think that it's really interesting bringing up this like post-luxury world, because it's so funny. When you walk in the store, you have really no intention of what you're going to buy, and you just kind of, it's all in the discovery, especially downstairs in the original one where all the kitchen things are, in my opinion, or upstairs where all the stationery and pens are. But I kind of love that, you know, a luxury can be defined as just something that you find that makes you really happy, and your eyes kind of widen at it and you want to purchase it. Like, that's luxury, even though it may not be a super high price point.
Definitely. Like, I think it speaks to the people. I mean, we're all fashion people on here, but it speaks to like the every person too, that's just kind of strolling through and wants to, you know, have a browse and discover something.
Love it. The
Yeah.
first one, of course, is in the Marais, but gotta check this one out too.
Yeah. I think it says a lot that they are in the first arrondissement now too.
Yeah, for sure.
And they do have a representation, if any of you remember, like that red Fiat that's positioned there. So they have that in the new one too.
By the way, I want to say the best hot chocolate I've ever had is in the little cafe joined on to the original store. Like, that's
I'm an Angelina fan in Paris for hot chocolate, Michael, but but that cafe is nice at Merci too.
Yeah.
So the next one, also a little bit of retail, and this is a really long read, so I'm going to paraphrase a little bit for you. And then there's some images here from Dover Street Market. Of course, this is a very high-end multi-brand retail store. They've got outposts from, you know, New York, London, LA. And this is a whole conversation between Lulu Kennedy, and she's from Fashion East, the talent incubator, as well as Adrienne Joffe from Dover Street Market. And it's a really good read if you have the time. I just wanted to identify a couple of things they mentioned about the industry. So Lulu mentioned that designers don't necessarily need a big fashion show to succeed. If a product is strong and desirable, it will sell. She believes in emerging designers staying true to their vision rather than getting caught up in, you know, having to have a fashion show. So I thought that was interesting. You kind of keep scrolling. I think there's some more like interiors from their stores, because they always do such a nice job with kind of installations. And then Adrian from Dover Street Market also mentions he prefers to create a space for independent designers that's promoting, you know, their experimentation and freedom, and it's not about mass commercialism. So you see, like, I love how it's arranged like art galleries when you walk into a Dover Street Market. It's kind of like stressing the importance of brands, you know, from their perspective, but it's very different from like your traditional trying to get into, you know, the bigger department stores, for example. They talked a lot in this article just about fashion shows and the fashion system, and they advocated for more intimate presentations focused on discovery. They value authenticity over financial growth. They mentioned like designers only scaling when they're really ready, not due to external pressure. So not just, okay, I finally got an order from XYZ department store, now we need to scale up. So I loved that message. And I think, you know, together, Fashion East and Dover Street Market, they are such big players in creativity and independent designers, you know, and kind of reject those more traditional commercial expansion modes.
I mean, we'll never not be tired of a Dover Street Market. I think what's always made it so exciting is that it changes constantly. So there's always a reason for you to go and rediscover what the aesthetic is for the season. Interesting what you said about fashion shows, Melissa. I was just reading yesterday. I know you guys are in the midst of women's fashion weeks right now in Paris. I was reading how a lot of the shows, especially in Paris, have really downsized the season. Louis Vuitton, only 300 attendees. It's usually like 1,200 or something like that. Like a lot of the shows have really downsized. Tom Ford showing in their office and a couple others. So those of us that go to shows sometimes, I know it's much appreciated for it to be a bit more intimate than not, right?
Yeah, I think it's a sign of the times, and also, you know, is it a spectacle and for what purposes? I do have a couple fashion related shares at the end today, but I have one more retail for now that I want to share, and that is that Miss 60, who
Sorry.
all right, just like a quick briefer, they opened a new flagship in Milan Fashion Week last week. It's 3,200 square feet. They have the lower level, which is like this yellow, that's their iconic, you know, I remember that from the early aughts. They also have that. I'm like, we might need to replay that, but it's a sexy robot floating installation by a Japanese artist. They're launching their 2025 campaign with Bella Hadid, which features her in a LA supermarket. I just thought that it was interesting because it's Miss 60, and I'm like, I hold really true to myself, like those low-rise jeans that I used to wear, and it's another indicator of like Y2K, and it's coming back like from a retail standpoint. I liked like the nostalgia of the space too, because I remember that when they were in, I think it was Nolita in New York, and it was just like my destination. So I thought that was fun that they're coming back.
I feel like there's a lot of these brands that are in the zeitgeist right now. Did I see something about like Diesel in the last week or two that was really buzzy too, perhaps? But yeah, it's really funny to relive. That's around the era that I moved to New York out of college originally. So it's really funny to like relive a lot of those brands again.
Yeah. And now I think Patricia has a cool collab that we're really excited about.
This is a really controversial one. I've seen it's very alienating to some people. So, Patricia, tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is a collaboration between Zara and Style.com. And for those of you who are not familiar, Style.com is this really cool Instagram account by Becca Vigiani. And it has that signature minimalist format with white text on a blue background that basically summarizes the most relevant news in the fashion industry. And so in this collaboration, they basically created a whole bunch of cool merch. So there are t-shirts, sweatshirts, the blue cap that he's always wearing, candles, notebooks, and more. There's always a humorous quote like, "Life is a fashion week with some normal days in the middle," or "I always end up at Zara." And they also created these sort of pop-up stores that coincided with the fashion weeks. So there was one in New York, London, Milan, and Paris. And what I think is interesting about this is it's cool to see this sort of new wave of influencers that are not like your typical Instagram girlies. You know, Becca is an editor with a very strong fashion commentary. So I feel like people are starting to resonate with that sort of content and how, you know, that's starting to influence fashion collabs. What are your thoughts, Michael?
I mean, I think it's really cool. I love the notion of introducing kind of a really buzzy account that those of us in the industry really love to more people. But on the other hand, I've seen other people that we work with or we've worked with comment on their Instagram that they feel like it's a sellout. And, you know, anytime that someone's going to collaborate with one of the world's biggest fast fashion brands, some people tend to be a bit more disappointed because they think that it's not as cool anymore. I don't feel that way. Melissa, you're still on. Like, what was your opinion?
So I'm actually holding up, I
Yeah.
bought that little book of Fashion 2023. And what I love about them, I feel like, first of all, it's so simple. I think, yes, like those of us that have been around for a while, we of course remember Style.com. but the genius of like the simplicity of just looking at text and like really succinct observations on what's happening in the industry. I really appreciate that. We're in such a visual world otherwise that I feel like this commentary is really, a valuable, but also different from everything else that's out there. So I'm a fan.
Yeah. Oh my God. I will always be a huge style.com fan. I mean, back in the day, if you were a fashion person, it was one of the only places that you could go and kind of nerd out with other fashion people. In menswear, we had men.style.com, and it was the first place that you could actually chat with others with the message boards. I mean, spent so much time on those websites back in the day. So
All right, so this is my last link, and this is Pantone's new customized hue, and this is Drew Barrymore Yellow. So Pantone usually does these customized hues for cultural icons or corporate giants. So we have seen past colors like Valentino Pink, Kate Spade Green, Crumble Pink, and now Drew Barrymore Yellow. It is this softly radiant golden yellow designed to embody her optimism, creative spirit, and uplifting presence. And it's a color that encapsulates Drew's warmth, curiosity, and joy. I feel like it's very similar to one of our forecasted colors for Spring Summer 25 called Scuffed Lemon. So I wanted to bring this out, and I think it's a great option for the upcoming spring. So we'll keep an eye out for Drew Barrymore Yellow.
I think Scuffed Lemon is by far one of the team's favorite colors. Hallie's on the call still. I'm sure she would agree. I know it's like picking a baby because we have so many colors, but it's really great also to see it manifest itself on some red carpets. Like Timothy Chalamet's suit the other night had some reminiscence of Scuffed Yellow, maybe a tad brighter, but in person, it's such an amazing color and great for everyone. So.
I do think it's such an interesting choice because I was looking at it, and when I think of like Drew Barrymore and like her show and all of the clips that go viral, it's usually that like way brighter yellow.
Yeah.
So I'm curious of why they kind of made it a little bit more soft. I mean, it's still a beautiful hue, but I think like my original association is that like super punchy, sunny yellow.
Really sunshiny, vibrant. Yeah.
All right, I have two more to share, and then we're going to pass it to Katie May. I'll go quickly through these. So these are a couple designers I wanted to turn you on to from Fashion Week. So the first one is Petra Fagerstrom. She is the winner of the L'Oreal Prize from the Central St. Martin's MA program. She has this beautiful pleated technique for a nude effect. And she said that she kind of identified glitches that AI makes, and we could watch that for a minute, but I thought that the technique was just beautiful and kind of mesmerizing.
It's really nice. This was from London. Yeah.
Yeah, that was from London.
Yeah.
All right, and then we could go to my final one, which Michael, you and I had discussed yesterday. Anne Age, the Japanese brand, kind of in developing the Spring 25 collection, considered how much of our lives are spent behind screens. So he wanted to turn garments into billboards. And so to do this, he had a partnership with a tech company called M++. So it's these, as you can see, beautiful futuristic kaleidoscopic patterns. They're coming to life with thousands of LEDs. Each garment looks black, but they have up to 60 different variations. Some of them are reflecting the stained glass windows, which reflect where the venue was, the American Cathedral in Paris. And I thought that it was really cool of, kind of this pixelated reality. The designer said that he hopes that one day people are able to download programs to change their designs at their whim.
Oh, I'm so obsessed. A friend of mine DM'd me when I put these on my stories last night. It's someone I grew up with, and she reminded me how much I loved the Light Bright toy as a kid. I feel like it was my first introduction to color.
Wow.
This is so Light Bright.
Yeah, the patterns are so just gorgeous.
Amazing. I loved at the end in the finale when they're all on the stage and they turn them off It's so cool. It's so beautiful. I'm obsessed. All right. So we're gonna go over to Katie May. Hey, Katie.
Hi, they were incredible.
So
Absolutely
good.
amazing. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie May. I am the director of Intimates and Swim. Michael, are you driving here or am I driving?
I'm driving. I got
Oh,
you.
perfect. Okay, that's great. Okay. So I thought today I would just share some fun brands doing fun things because I think it's always nice to discover new brands. They're not necessarily new brands, but they're just doing cool things. So first up, we have French brand Icon. So they've been around since about 2014, but I've just really been loving their shoots recently. They feel really thematic, like the loungewear one on the top right, which feels like this kind of Y2K sleepover. Lots of baby pink pointel. And if you zoom right into her bum, you've got the lace band with Icon, like a jacquard. Oh, it's just amazing, really cool. And they've also just got some really gorgeous embroideries on their lingerie and some really nice styling. So they do ready to wear as well. And I just love that really clean corset. Obviously, we saw so many corsets coming through on the recent runways. So that's just that gorgeous kind of clean square neck shape. So they are definitely one to watch. And then this next brand I wanted to talk about is called Miss A London. So this is by a person that I've known for a long time. She's called Bok Goodall, and she's been in the industry for years, so she knows everything about lingerie. And she's basically spent the last 4 years driving up and down the country in the UK, measuring trans women. And she's created this global sizing system to basically create these garments for the trans feminine community. And I've seen these pieces in real life, and the construction is insane. It's absolutely incredible. She's got this kind of these like hip pockets and like bum pockets for extra padding and shape, and they're just like pieces of art. They're amazing. So I just thought that was really, really cool.
Good for her.
I know, she's absolutely great. She's dedicated the last 4 years of her life to it, and she hasn't like been making money on it in that time, and they're just so beautiful. So yeah, she's now released the collections. So
great.
We've got Love Shack Fancy, again, not a new brand, but I don't know if, oh, sorry, my cat's just jumped on my screen. I don't know if you saw their recent catwalk show, but it was absolutely incredible. If you've not heard of Love Shack Fancy, they're this vintage inspired, full-on fantasy, ultra feminine brand. They've got loads of soft pinks and pastels and like delicate lace and ruffles. So they're just great for kind of nightwear and loungewear. And they actually started off as a bridesmaid brand, which kind of fitting. But I just really loved on the bottom left-hand corner, she's done this slip, and it's like twist front lace paneling, like off-shoulder frills. It's just like, in Sweden there's an expression which is like cake, they say cake on cake, which is like just more and more and more. I just thought it was brilliant. And then also the
Cake
second
on
one,
cake. Oh my
yeah,
God.
Coco, I think. Yeah. It's such a good one. Yeah, really accurate. So cake on cake. And yeah, I just love the applique. Yeah, just great. Check out their runway show, and then everything else. Their Instagram's gorgeous as well.
And then complete opposite. Here we go.
Yeah, complete opposite. Yeah, onto more of a kind of gothic theme. So this is Turkish-British designer Dilara Findikoğlu, and her recent runway show was called Venus from Chaos. It was incredible. So she was using things like seashells and eggshells and safety pins and braided hair to create these garments. So it was in her kind of signature gothic style. And a lot of people have been kind of comparing her to McQueen on TikTok, and lots of people are getting angry that people are comparing her to McQueen on TikTok. I went down that hole yesterday. But she's just great. And she also did a collaboration with British lingerie brand Boo Avenue, which was really out of character for them because their signature style is really glam and quite girly. But I mean, look at this iconic lingerie shoot. It's so goth. It's incredible. So I thought that was just amazing. I'm obsessed with her. And then another British brand that I love at the minute, different again, is Stripe and Stare. So they create compostable lingerie and nightwear, and they've got some really gorgeous, like bright, colorful prints. And the heart of all their products is Tencel Modal. So it's fabric, you probably know, but it's sustainably sourced from beechwood trees. So it's incredibly soft, and it's also really environmentally friendly because it uses 95% less water in its production compared to cotton, which we know is really thirsty. And their bestseller, this was the thing I found most interesting, is their biodegradable high-rise knicker. And apparently most of the consumers are Gen Z, which is huge because this shows like the shift from Gen Z wanting bigger knickers, which we haven't seen for a long time. So that is exciting. They are now, you know, getting up in the morning after a weekend and going to the gym, having avocado toast. They're not like, they don't need a thong anymore, you know? They don't need that. So that's
And
really
it's
exciting.
really cooling as a fabric too. Really cooling.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great for intimate
It's,
apparel.
you know what? It's so soft. It's gorgeous. So and when I was at ASOS, we were talking about this shift into bigger knickers, and there were rumblings of it, but we weren't seeing it in the sales. So interestingly, now it's really good to hear that that's like happening with Stripe and Stare. So yeah, they are a brand you should check out, especially for their gorgeous prints. And then on to Australian brand Fella Swim. I just wanted to talk about this brand because they are just my favorite at the moment. They're not necessarily doing anything interesting or fun, but the fabrics are gorgeous and the colors are gorgeous and the prints are really gorgeous. So they're the best I've seen this season so far. And like also just their, you know, the beading on that bikini is just perfect. And then the next swimwear brand is with Jean. These are also Australian, and their lingerie feels more like, sorry, their swimwear feels more like lingerie, which we've been seeing a little bit coming through, but this really looks like actual lingerie. They've got ribbon slots and bows and these kind of cutesy prints. So this just feels like such a fresh direction for swimwear, which is really exciting. And then I wanted to talk about Understatement. So this is a Swedish brand. They're incredible. They've just released this great campaign called Nothing But Perfect. And it's basically a celebration of women's bodies in all their forms. And it goes through all the different women and talks about their insecurities, and actually just it's really empowering. It's just gorgeous. And their use of color is really nice. I met up with them recently in Paris in January and got a sneak peek at their new range, and it's just incredible. Then the girls are all so cool that work there. Swedish, obviously cool, you know? So yeah, definitely check out Understatement. And then this is nothing to do with lingerie, but it's really important because it's so delicious. A friend of mine sent me this recipe the other day. It's gochujang carbonara, and it literally takes 15 minutes. And I am so, like, I take ages when I'm cooking, especially if I'm trying to follow a recipe. It did legit take me 15 minutes. And the person who's come up with the recipe, he won UK MasterChef last year. He's called Bryn. And it was so delicious. Definitely go give him a follow and try that pasta. It's so important.
I mean, I love this. We have not had a good recipe share in Show and Tell probably since the height of COVID when we were sharing lots of food things. So this is good, and I'm definitely going to make this next week. I looked at it earlier and it looked delicious.
It's so good, I promise.
So good. Oh my God. While we have you, we got a great question in the chat from Tinera. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. She asked, in your market, how do you see brands building collabs currently? Is there a pattern for Gen Z? How are they approaching brands of other products that are out of the fashion world?
Do you know what? The Dilara one was absolutely so out of the blue, but it got so much, I mean, traction, and it was, you know, Vogue were talking about, everyone was talking about it. And I think because it was just so off-brand for them and it felt so new. So yeah, I think I don't know, I feel a bit put on the spot. I think that was the most interesting collab I've seen in Intimates for a long time, because Intimates, it doesn't change so much, you know, and I think Skims always do really great collaborations, but that's more from like a model perspective. Like they've just had Rosé, she modeled their lingerie collection. So, you know, they're always really smart with their campaigns on who they get. I think last Valentine's Day, they had the two girls from White Lotus. This year, Rosé, she's a Korean girl who's done a song with Bruno Mars, and it's constantly in my head because my son sings it all the time. It's like called APC or something. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Skims are just so good at that. But yeah, this Boo Avenue and Dilara was just so gothic, and obviously we've seen gothic like bubbling more and more and more. And I'm quite gothic anyway on the inside, so I was into it. Anything
know.
fun, basically.
I'm also very gothic on the inside, even though I wear no black hardly at all, but my soul
Yeah.
is gothic.
Yeah.
It's funny that you spoke about Skims. I'm sure everyone read this like a week or two ago about the huge partnership with Nike. I mean, they literally have hired whole teams around it, but I think Business of Fashion did a really wonderful feature about it and what it means to the sales and business of it. But I mean, that's a brand that just doesn't stop, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Your recipe is here. I see people asking in the thing. We will share these with you. You will get the recipe. It will go to the Instagram page. That way we can all try it and report back next time on Show and Tell. Thanks, team. That was a really fun Show and Tell. Women's Fashion Week, Paris, I think just started, what, 2 days ago, guys? Two or 3 days ago. So you have another week left, I guess. And then women's team is hard at work getting everything summarized for everyone. So if you're a client, be on the lookout for that. All the men's runway reports are up. So looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow at the men's runway webinar. And then we'll see you back here again on Wednesday, April 2nd for our next Show and Tell, first official one of the spring. Hopefully, wherever you are, you're starting to smell the spring in the air. Here in New England today, I can smell spring in the air. Ellie and I were talking about that this morning. So here's to spring coming really quickly. But thanks, team. Appreciate you joining us today. Thanks to our FS community. And we'll see you guys next month. Have a wonderful March. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.